Chapter 1. The date on my phone screen was stark and clear. June 25th, 2025. 3 years. 3 years to the day. My name is Ethan Hayes. 3 years ago, I was just another recent grad trying to survive in Chicago, drowning in rent and ambition. That evening, on my way home from my dead-end job, I saw an old man clutch his chest and collapse on the sidewalk. His face was ghostly pale. It looked serious. People streamed past, a river of averted eyes. No one wanted to get involved. I didn't think twice. I rushed over, called 911, and rode with him to the hospital. I even fronted the initial ER fees with my credit card and stayed with him through the night. When the old man woke up, he was overcome with gratitude. He told me his name was Thorne, Arthur Thorne, chairman of Thorne Industries. He had a small family, just one beloved granddaughter named Isabella. He was old, his health was failing, and his biggest worry was her. She was fiercely independent and a workaholic, he said, but she didn't know how to take care of herself and was an easy target for schemers. And then Mr. Thorne made me an offer that left me speechless. To thank me, and to give me a legitimate reason to look after Isabella for 3 years, long enough for her to secure her grip on the company and stand on her own 2 feet. He would give me a sum of money, so vast it would set me up for life. The tie that would bind us. A marriage certificate. What was I thinking at the time? Maybe I was moved by the old man's sincerity. Maybe I was blinded by the promise of that vast sum. But more than anything, I was genuinely curious about this mysterious heiress to Thorne Industries. So, in a moment of what felt like cosmic intervention, I agreed. Just like that, Ethan Hayes, a broke kid from nowhere, became the husband of the Thorne Industries heiress. Our married life was nothing like I'd imagined. Isabella Thorne was, as her grandfather had implied, stunning. Sharp, cool features, porcelain skin, and a pair of eyes that looked like frozen lakes. So beautiful you were afraid to get too close. She was the proverbial girl who had everything, a product of the best schools, brilliant and capable, holding a top executive position at Thorne Industries despite her young age. But toward me, from the very beginning, she offered nothing but cold indifference. We lived in a sprawling penthouse on the Gold Coast, a place Mr. Thorne had arranged. The space was huge, but it felt as empty and cold as an ice palace. We had separate bedrooms. The living room was our only shared space, but most of the time, she was either working late at the office or would return only to lock herself in her room or her home office. My job was to take care of her. It sounded like a nanny's duties, but Mr. Thorne provided a generous living stipend that meant I didn't have to work. My full-time job was managing her life. She couldn't handle spicy food and had a sensitive stomach, so I researched and perfected recipes that were easy on her digestion. She worked late, so I experimented with drinks that would keep her alert without wrecking her health. She had endless networking events and drank too much, so I'd always be the one to pick her up, a hydrating recovery drink waiting in the car. For 3 years, I embodied the concept of meticulous care. From a warm milk I'd have ready before she woke up to the calming chamomile tea on her nightstand before she slept, from the file she'd forgotten on the kitchen counter to the late-night tacos from a specific food truck she once mentioned offhand. I was the most competent life manager, or perhaps the most patient guardian orbiting her world. And she, Isabella, seemed to take my devotion for granted. She would offer a quiet, perfunctory thanks. She might frown slightly when I reminded her to bring a coat. She would gently set down her fork if a meal wasn't to her taste. But there was never an extra ounce of expression, never a flicker of warmth. We were legally husband and wife, living under the same roof, yet we were more distant than strangers. We had the title, but none of the substance. Her world contained only Thorne Industries, only work. I was probably just a necessary, yet insignificant tool in her life. I knew this was a contract. I was here for the payout. She was here to fulfill her grandfather's wish and solidify her position. We were both getting what we wanted. So, for 3 years, I buried every emotion deep inside. Today was the day the contract expired. This morning, I prepared breakfast as usual. Oatmeal, fresh berries, and the perfect 3-egg omelet she liked. She came to the table dressed in a sharp, white power suit, eating in her usual silence. "Ethan," she said suddenly, her voice as flat as ever. Let's go to the courthouse at 3 this afternoon. I've had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. My heart gave a strange, sharp jolt. This was it. The day I'd been waiting for. I get the money, I leave this life behind, and I start my own. A wave of relief, of pure joy, washed over me. Okay, I nodded, trying to suppress the excitement in my voice. Got it. She said nothing more, finished her breakfast quickly, grabbed her briefcase, and said, I'm heading to the office. Drive safe, I said out of habit. Her footsteps paused for a fraction of a second, but she didn't turn back. She walked out, and the heavy door clicked shut behind her. The enormous penthouse was silent, leaving only me. I looked at the plate and silverware she'd used, a hollow feeling blooming in my chest. These 3 years felt like a long, drawn-out dream. In the dream, I spent all my energy circling an iceberg, slowly growing numb. But at least it was finally over. After the divorce, she'd still be the untouchable Miss Thorne. And I'd take the money and finally live a life of freedom. I shook my head, clearing my thoughts. A better life was waving at me. 3 years. 3 whole years. It had been suffocating. 3 o'clock, outside the Cook County Courthouse. Isabella was already there, her lawyer by her side. She wore the same cool, detached expression, as if we were here to close a business deal, not a marriage. The lawyer handed me the divorce agreement. I glanced over it. It was straightforward. The division of assets was clear, especially the section detailing my compensation, a staggering sum, enough to make all my old dreams a reality. I picked up the pen without a moment's hesitation and signed my name on the line, Ethan Hayes. The moment the ink dried, I let out a long, slow breath. The 3-year sentence was finally over. Isabella signed her name, too. When our single marriage certificate was officially voided by the final decree, I felt a weight lift from my entire body. Mr. Hayes, this is your compensation. As per the agreement, the funds have been wired to your account, the lawyer said, handing me a document confirming the bank transfer. I took it, my heart skipping a beat as I looked at the string of zeros. Thank you, I said to the lawyer. Then I looked at Isabella. Well, Miss Thorne, I guess I'll be seeing you. Isabella looked at me, her eyes clouded with a complex emotion. She seemed to want to say something, but in the end, only 2 words came out, goodbye. With that, she turned, got into a black Bentley with her lawyer, and the car quickly disappeared into traffic. I stood there on the pavement, clutching the final court papers and that heavy, life-changing bank statement. The sun was a bit too bright, but my future felt wide open. I threw my head back and let out a triumphant shout, a raw sound that seemed to release all the frustration of the last 3 years. Goodbye, Isabella Thorne. Goodbye to this 3-year contract marriage. Goodbye to my Mrs. Thorne. As of today, I, Ethan Hayes, am a free man again. Chapter 2. The first day after the divorce. I slept until I woke up naturally. No 6:30 a.m. alarm. No rush to prepare a specific breakfast. No presence of that cool, distant figure. The apartment was so quiet it felt a little strange. But that strangeness was quickly replaced by the joy of freedom. I ambled out of bed, made myself a box of mac and cheese, and collapsed on the sofa, flipping through trashy reality TV. No more worrying about when Isabella would be home, what to make for dinner, or how to read her moods. The feeling was incredible. I even started planning my future. With this money, first, I'd buy my own place. Nothing huge, but something cozy and mine. Then, maybe I'd find a job I actually liked or open a small coffee shop and just live a quiet, stable life. As for romance, not even on my radar. My 3-year stint as a tool had given me a mild case of relationship PTSD. Around noon, my college buddy Chris Sully Sullivan called me. Ethan, my man, I heard you're free man. We're getting the guys together tonight to celebrate. You in? Hell yeah. I agreed instantly. The usual spot. You know it. We're not going home sober. I hung up, feeling even better. A night out with the guys to celebrate. Perfect. In the afternoon, I went to the grocery store to stock up on snacks and beer for a proper night in. As I was walking back to my apartment building, I saw a familiar black Bentley parked at the curb. My heart hammered against my ribs. No way. The tinted window rolled down, revealing Isabella's cool, beautiful face. She was wearing a simple white sundress, which softened the sharp, corporate edge she usually had. What are you doing here? I asked, surprised. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. Just passing by, passing by. My new apartment, while not in the middle of nowhere, was miles away from both the Thorn Industries headquarters and her penthouse. What were the chances? Oh, I nodded, not pushing it. Well, if that's all, I'm gonna head up. Wait, she called out. Yeah, did you eat lunch? She asked, a slight hesitation in her voice. I froze. In 3 years, this was the first time she had ever asked me if I'd eaten. It was always me asking her. Yeah, made some mac and cheese, I replied. Oh, she nodded, her gaze flickering for a second. And, for dinner, going out with some friends tonight. Who? Guys, girls? The questions came out fast, almost reflexive. I raised an eyebrow, puzzled by her behavior. My college buddies. Just Sully and the guys. Oh, she nodded again, looking almost relieved, though her face remained a mask. Well, don't drink too much. Got it. I gave a small smile. You should get going too. Miss Thorne has a busy schedule. No need to worry about me. With a wave, I turned and walked into my building. Once inside the lobby, I glanced back. The Bentley was still there, the window rolled up. I couldn't tell if she was still watching. What was with her today? Acting all concerned now that we're divorced. Was she not used to it? I shook my head, chalking it up to a temporary adjustment period. After all, 3 years is a long time. It was only natural to feel a little off when the person taking care of you suddenly disappears. That evening, I met Sully and the guys at our favorite neighborhood sports bar. Dude, you're a legend. 3 years of hard time for a lifetime of financial freedom. Sully slapped me on the back, his face a mask of envy. So spill, is the Thorn Industries Ice Queen really as cold as they say? Did anything undescribable ever happen? Get out of here. I laughed, pushing him away. Were you thinking it was a purely contractual relationship? All of the title, none of the perks, you get me? Ugh, boring. Sully pouted. But for real, man, it couldn't have been easy, playing butler to her for 3 years. Now you're free. It must feel good. It feels damn good, I said, raising my beer. To the guys and to my freedom. To freedom. We drank and laughed, reminiscing about stupid things we did in college. I let myself go, the tension of the past 3 years dissolving in the alcohol. Halfway through her second pitcher, my phone buzzed. The caller ID read, Isabella Thorne. I stared at it for a moment, then hesitated before answering. Hello, where are you? Her voice on the other end held a trace of urgency I couldn't quite place. Out with my friends, like I told you. How much have you had to drink? Not much, just a couple of beers. Send me the address. What? Why would I do that? I was baffled. I'm coming to get you. That's really not necessary. I can get home myself, or Sully can give me a ride. I immediately refused. What would it look like, having my ex-wife pick me up after our divorce? Just send it. Her tone became commanding, a flicker of the old, imperious Isabella, but laced with something else. Fine. I couldn't argue with her, and texted her the bar's address. When I hung up, Sully and the guys were staring at me with huge, gossipy grins. Look at you, Ethan. Divorced, and she's still coming to pick you up? Something's definitely up with you, too. Shut up, I grumbled, shooting him a glare. She's probably just in the neighborhood. But in my head, I was confused. What was she up to? It wasn't long before a black Bentley pulled up in front of the bar. It looked ridiculously out of place next to the neon beer signs and beat-up pickup trucks. Isabella got out, in her white dress, standing amidst the rowdy, smoky atmosphere of the bar's patio. She was a complete anomaly. Her beautiful face was a mask of cool detachment, but her eyes kept darting toward our table. More than a few patrons stopped and stared, probably wondering what a woman who looked like her was doing at a place like this. Ethan, your wife, ex-wife, is here, Sully nudged me. I stood up and walked over to her. You really came. Didn't I tell you not to drink too much? She said, her brow furrowing as she took in my slightly flushed face. How much did you have? Seriously, just a couple, I said, scratching my head. Get in. She didn't say anything else, just opened the passenger door for me. I turned back to my friends. I'm heading out, guys. You have fun. You got it, Ethan. Get home safe. Sully called out with a conspiratorial wink. I slid into the car. Isabella started the engine. The car was silent, filled with the faint, familiar scent of her perfume, a cool, floral fragrance. So, why did you suddenly decide to come get me? I couldn't help but ask. She stared straight ahead, her voice even. I was worried you'd drink too much and get into trouble. I'm a grown man. What kind of trouble could I get into? Before. I was always the one you picked up, she said softly, so quietly I almost missed it. It was true. Whenever she had a work event, no matter how late, I would wait for her call and bring her home safely. That's all in the past, I said with a small smile. From now on, you need to take better care of yourself. Drink less. She didn't respond, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the steering wheel. The drive to my apartment was short. Thanks for the ride, I said, unbuckling my seatbelt. Ethan, she suddenly said my name. Yeah, she turned to face me. The warm glow of a streetlight filtered through the windshield, softening the contours of her face. Her eyes, no longer just icy, seemed to shimmer with a complex emotion. In the future, if you're not busy, you could. Come find me at the office. She paused, as if gathering the courage to say the words. I was stunned. Find her at Thorn Industries. What for? Seeing the confusion on my face, she seemed to grow flustered and quickly added, I mean, if you need help with anything, or if you just want to talk, you can come find me. Oh, okay, I replied, still a bit dazed. You should. Go on up, she said, looking down and away from me. Right. You get home safe, too. I pushed the door open and got out. As I watched the Bentley disappear into the night for the second time that day, I stood on the sidewalk, a storm of conflicting feelings swirling inside me. Isabella's behavior today was completely abnormal. What in the world was wrong with her? Over the next few days, Isabella's strange behavior continued. She would call me sporadically, asking things like, have you eaten? What are you up to? Did you go out anywhere? Her tone was never exactly warm, but compared to the Arctic chill of the past 3 years, it was a heat wave. At first, I figured she was just having trouble adjusting to my absence, a kind of residual, habitual concern. But gradually, I realized it might be more complicated than that. One day, an old friend from high school, Chloe, was in town for a business trip. She'd heard I was divorced and invited me out to dinner to catch up. Chloe was a bubbly, cheerful person. We'd been close in high school, and though we went to different colleges and drifted a bit, we'd always kept in touch. We met at a nice Italian restaurant downtown. Chloe was wearing a bright yellow dress that matched her sunny personality. Ethan, I still can't believe it. You, married to the heiress of Thorn Industries. Chloe exclaimed. Back in high school, you always said you wanted to marry someone sweet and gentle. I gave a wry smile. Don't remind me. That's all ancient history now. So, you must have gotten a pretty sweet deal in the divorce, right? Enough to live it up for a while? Chloe asked, her curiosity piqued. It's enough to get a condo and maybe start a small business, I said, avoiding specifics. We fell into easy conversation, laughing about old high school stories and catching up on our lives. Chloe was outgoing and funny, and she had me laughing genuinely for the first time in a long while. Right in the middle of a funny story, my phone rang. It was Isabella again. I sighed, hesitated, but answered. Hello, where are you? Her voice came through the phone, sharp and probing. Out to dinner with a friend. A friend? Male or female? The question was immediate, just like last time. Female. A friend from high school. I answered honestly. The line went silent for a few seconds. Then, her cool voice returned. Oh, really? Which one? Do I know her? I don't think so. Her name is Chloe. We were lab partners. Oh, another one-syllable response. Her tone unreadable. Well, you two have fun. And she hung up. I stared at the dead screen, baffled. Why was she asking for so many details? Who was that? The ex? Chloe asked. Yeah. I nodded, putting my phone away. Sorry about that. No worries, Chloe laughed. Sounds like your ex-wife is still keeping tabs on you. Checking up on you even after the divorce. Nah, she was just asking, I said, brushing it off. The rest of the dinner was pleasant. Afterward, I walked Chloe back to her hotel. Thanks for dinner, Ethan. Chloe said with a smile. Next time it's my treat. You got it. Anytime. All right. I'm heading in. Bye. She waved and disappeared into the lobby. I turned to leave, but after a few steps, I saw it. A black Bentley parked just down the street, its window down, revealing Isabella's expressionless face. I froze for a second, then walked over. What are you doing here? She looked at me, her gaze flat. Passing by. Again, with the passing by. The odds of this had to be astronomical. What a coincidence, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She ignored my tone and glanced toward the hotel entrance. Is your friend gone? Yeah, she went inside. You too. Seem to be having a good time. Her voice was tinged with an acidity I couldn't miss. It was fine. We're old friends. Haven't seen each other in years. Just catching up. She's very pretty. Yeah, she is. I nodded, not thinking anything of it. The moment the words left my mouth, Isabella's face clouded over. Her eyes turned icy, just like the woman I'd known for 3 years. Is that so? You two must have really hit it off, she said, her voice devoid of warmth. That's when I realized something was definitely wrong. What's the matter? I asked, confused. You seem upset. I'm not, she snapped, turning her face away. I have no reason to be upset. We're divorced. What you do is none of my business. She said the words, but her tense posture and strained voice told a completely different story. Could it be? A ridiculous thought popped into my head. Was she jealous? No. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. This was Isabella Thorne, the woman who treated me like furniture for 3 years. The CEO of Thorne Industries. Why would she be jealous over me? I had to be imagining things. Oh, well, good, I said with a weak smile. I'm going to head home. You should get going too. Wait, she called out again. Now what? You should avoid having dinner alone with female friends you barely know, she said, frowning as if issuing a directive. Why? I was completely lost. Chloe and I were classmates. We're good friends. Good friends? A man and a woman, alone in a fancy restaurant, laughing and talking, and then you walk her to her hotel? You call that good friends? Her voice rose, and underneath the anger, I heard a note of something I'd never heard from her before. Hurt. I was utterly stunned. Her reaction. Was she serious? Isabella, we're divorced, I said, trying to be patient. Who I eat with, who my friends are, that's my choice, isn't it? My words seemed to deflate her. Her face fell, and her lips trembled as if she wanted to say something more, but all that came out was a cold, bitter, do whatever you want. Then she yanked the button to raise the window, and the car screeched away from the curb, tires protesting against the asphalt. I stood there, watching her taillights disappear, my mind in a total state of chaos. That reaction, that had to be jealousy, right? But why? After 3 years of utter indifference, 3 years of distance, why would she suddenly care who I was spending my time with now that we were divorced? This shift was so abrupt, it felt like I was losing my mind. Chapter 4. After the coincidental run-in at the restaurant, Isabella's jealousy became even more blatant. She started meddling in every little aspect of my life. If I was at home, she'd call and ask, "What are you doing? Are you watching any inappropriate shows?" If I went out shopping, she'd ask, "Who did you go with? Did you run into anyone?" I posted a picture on my Instagram story of me playing basketball with Sully and the guys, and she immediately slid into my DMs. "Who's the one in the blue shirt? Male or female?" The most absurd incident happened when I helped my next-door neighbor, a young mom, carry a new washing machine up to her apartment because she couldn't manage it alone. I don't know how Isabella found out, but she showed up at my building, fuming. "Ethan!" She yelled up at my window, her voice crackling with anger. I rushed downstairs to find her standing there, puffed up like an angry cat. "What's wrong? Why are you so mad? Did you, or did you not, just help that woman carry something?" she demanded, pointing in the direction of my neighbor's apartment. "Yeah, my neighbor. The washing machine was too heavy for her to lift alone, so I gave her a hand," I said, completely baffled. "What's the problem?" "My neighbor?" she repeated, practically snarling the words. The jealousy in her eyes was practically overflowing. "Sounds pretty friendly. Are you too close? You're already helping her move appliances? What, she gets ideas about you?" I was speechless. "Isabella, the woman is married. She has a 2-year-old kid. Can you please stop with these paranoid fantasies?" "So what if she's married? Married people can't get ideas?" she shot back, relentless. "I'm telling you, Ethan, even though we're divorced, you can't just go around getting close to other women, especially the kind that need your help. First of all, what does our divorce have to do with anything? It's called being a good neighbor. It's a normal thing people do," I said, utterly exasperated. "What is your logic here?" "I don't care," she said, planting her hands on her hips in a posture of pure defiance. "From now on, you're not allowed to help her move things, and you're not allowed to talk to her. Isabella, I was starting to get angry myself. You're crossing a line. We are divorced. Can you please stay out of my life? Hearing the word divorced, her fire seemed to die down. A flicker of hurt crossed her face before being replaced by stubbornness. I was just reminding you. I'm worried you'll get taken advantage of, she said, her voice softening slightly. You've always been so naive. It's easy for people to fool you. Well, thank you for your concern, I said sarcastically. But I'm perfectly capable of making my own judgments. I turned to go back inside. Ethan, she called out again, her voice now laced with an unmistakable note of vulnerability. Do you hate it that much when I care about you? I stopped, turning back to look at her. She stood there, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun, looking surprisingly small and lonely. That face, usually so composed and icy, was now a mask of desperation and was that a plea? I was at a complete loss. It's not that I hate it, I sighed. It's just, given our current relationship, it's not appropriate for you to manage my life like this. Then, what is our relationship? She asked in a small voice, her eyes filled with a desperate hope. I froze. What was our relationship? Ex-spouses? A former employer and a former employee whose contract had ended? None of that felt right. Looking into her expectant eyes, I suddenly realized that I didn't want to define it, didn't want to draw a line that was too clear, too final. I hesitated. We're still friends, I guess. Friends? She repeated, the light in her eyes dimming for a second before flaring up again. Okay, friends. And friends can care about each other and give each other advice, right? Right, I said with a defeated nod. Then, as your friend, I'm advising you to stay away from other women. Especially the pretty ones, she declared, immediately back to her bossy, self-righteous self. I just stared at her, speechless. Isabella flicked her wrist, tossing the Bentley's key fob at me. I caught it, confused. What's this for? Take me home, she commanded, crossing her arms. Miss Thorne, we're divorced, remember? I said, annoyed. Why should I be your chauffeur? Take you home? I wouldn't even. $20,000. So, I cut myself off. Damn rich people and their ability to buy my principles. I love being a chauffeur. It's my passion. Your chariot awaits, Miss Thorne. She shot me a withering glare and slid into the passenger seat. The ride was surprisingly quiet. Neither of us spoke. I pulled up to the private parking area next to her penthouse. We're here. End of the line, Miss Thorne. Isabella turned her stunning face toward me, looking like she was about to say something important. I didn't give her the chance. I pulled out my phone and held up my Venmo QR code. Cash or digital, we settle up front. No tabs. Her face remained placid as she scanned the code and sent the money. The moment the notification hit my phone, I grinned, popped open my door, and started to get out. Wait, Ethan, Isabella called out. I turned back and gave her a bright, professional smile. Thank you for your business, Miss Thorne. We look forward to serving you again. And with that, I walked away from her penthouse, leaving her sitting alone in her car. After that day, Isabella's unreasonable behavior became the new normal. If I was texting a friend and smiling, she'd want to know, what's so funny? If I went to the store, she'd ask, did you buy anything? Strange. I even bought a houseplant, and she somehow managed to question if some woman had given it to me. Honestly, at first, it was annoying. I felt smothered, and her logic was baffling. But slowly, I started to realize this feeling of being managed, of being cared about so fiercely, it wasn't so bad. And that realization made me feel a little thrilled and a little terrified. Chapter 5. The days trickled by, punctuated by Isabella's fits of jealousy. Our relationship had settled into a strange, undefined space. We weren't a couple, but we weren't just friends either. It was a delicate dance of ambiguity and tentative steps forward. She started finding more and more excuses to see me, each one more transparent than the last. Ethan, my laptop's acting up. Can you take a look? It was always a minor issue she could have fixed herself with a simple Google search. Ethan, I'm craving that beef bourguignon you make. Can you make some for me? After which she'd eat every last bite, then claim it was just okay. Ethan, I'm too scared to watch this horror movie alone. Can you watch it with me? She'd then spend the entire movie hiding behind me. Every time she came over, I could feel her nervous energy, her carefully constructed excuses barely hiding a deep-seated reliance on me that was buried beneath her pride. And as for me, my initial frustration and resistance had slowly melted into a comfortable habit. One afternoon, Isabella called, her voice hesitant. "Ethan, there's a corporate gala tomorrow night. Would you come with me?" "A gala? Me, an unemployed guy, at a black tie event? Would that be appropriate?" I asked. "Of course it is," she said quickly. "Just think of it as doing me a favor. A lot of people who have tried to undermine me will be there. I don't want to go alone." Hearing that trace of vulnerability in her voice, my heart softened. "Okay, I'll go with you." "Really? That's great." Her voice was suddenly bright with unconcealed joy. "I'll have my driver pick you up tomorrow. I've already had a suit sent over for you." "Okay, sounds good." Hanging up, I felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. Was this our first official date since the divorce? The next evening, the driver arrived right on time. The suit Isabella had picked was a perfect fit. The gala was being held in the grand ballroom of a five-star hotel, a dazzling sea of chandeliers and couture. Isabella was wearing a breathtaking red evening gown, her hair swept up to reveal the elegant line of her neck and collarbones. She looked like a blooming rose, and her entrance turned every head in the room. She walked to my side and slipped her arm through mine. "Stay close to me," she whispered. Her arm was slender, and through the thin fabric of her gown, I could feel the warmth of her skin. My heart began to beat a little faster. "Got it," I nodded. As we entered the ballroom, we were immediately swarmed by people wanting to greet her. "Isabella, you look stunning as always." "Ms. Thorne, and who is this?" "This is Ethan Hayes," Isabella said, introducing me. "He's my friend." The word friend hung in the air, weighted with unspoken meaning. I smiled and nodded at the curious faces. I had to admit, these high society events were painfully dull. Everyone spoke in polite, meaningless platitudes, their words dripping with flattery while their eyes sized you up. Isabella navigated the crowd like a pro, but I could see the fatigue behind her perfect smile. Every so often, she'd lean in and whisper, "Are you bored?" I'd shake my head. "I'm fine." Just then, a slick, middle-aged man in an expensive suit approached us, a greasy smile on his face. Well, if it isn't Ms. Thorne, and you brought a date tonight?" I don't believe I recognize this young man. "Where do you work, son?" Isabella's brow furrowed in annoyance. "Mr. Wallace, this is my friend, Ethan." Wallace looked me up and down, his eyes filled with disdain. "A friend? Since when do you associate with such?" "Young friends, Isabella. It looks like you just graduated college." I felt a surge of anger, but forced myself to remain calm. Isabella's expression turned to ice. "Mr. Wallace, my friends are none of your concern. If you'll excuse us, we have other people to see." She took my arm to lead me away, but Wallace was persistent. He reached out, trying to place a hand on her shoulder. "Now, Isabella, don't be in such a hurry. It's been too long since we had a proper chat." Before his hand could touch her, I moved, blocking his arm with my own. My voice was low and cold. "I suggest you show some respect." Wallace, taken aback, scowled. "And who the hell are you to talk to me like that?" "Who I'm doesn't matter," I said, my voice like steel. "What matters is that you don't touch my friend." Isabella looked at me, her eyes flashing with gratitude and something else. Admiration. The people nearby had noticed the confrontation, and the air grew thick with tension. Wallace grunted, shot me a final dirty look, and sulked away. "Thank you, Ethan," Isabella whispered, a tremor of relief in her voice. "Don't worry about it," I smiled. "Guys like that aren't worth your time." For the rest of the evening, Isabella seemed distracted, her gaze constantly drifting back to me, her eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. Halfway through the gala, she pulled me out onto a terrace for some fresh air. The night breeze tousled her hair, and her profile was softened by the moonlight. "Ethan," she said suddenly, her voice low, "thank you for coming with me tonight. You don't have to thank me." Before, she paused as if lost in thought. Before, it was always my grandfather who came to these things with me, or I came alone. No one has ever stood up for me like that. My heart ached for her. All this time, she had been so alone. "From now on, if you need me, I'll always be here for you," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. I immediately regretted it. What right did I have to make a promise like that, given our undefined relationship? Isabella's head snapped up, her eyes shining. Really? Looking into her hopeful gaze, I found my courage. I nodded firmly. Really? A radiant smile broke across her face, like the sun melting a glacier. It lit up her entire being and, in turn, my entire world. It was the first time in the 3 years I had known her that I had seen her smile with such pure, unreserved joy. Ethan, she started to say, then stopped, her cheeks flushing as if she'd lost her nerve. We should get back inside. It's getting cold, I said, changing the subject before she could say something that would make me lose all control. Okay, she nodded, following me back into the ballroom. Inside, it was like she had transformed. She proudly took my arm and began introducing me to people, her voice filled with a newfound confidence. This is Ethan. He's very important to me. Then she started drinking, one glass of champagne after another. She was usually so disciplined, knowing she couldn't hold her liquor, but tonight she seemed to have thrown all caution to the wind. Isabella, slow down. You know you can't handle this, I warned, trying to take her glass. I'm fine, she said, batting my hand away, her eyes glazed and her cheeks flushed. I'm happy tonight. Watching her get progressively drunker, I could only shake my head in helpless affection. By the end of the night, she was completely wasted, leaning heavily against me, barely conscious. Ethan, she murmured my name, her voice thick. My head is spinning. I know. I'm taking you home, I said, steadying her. I waved off her driver and helped her into my car. In the back seat, she rested her head on my shoulder, mumbling incoherently. Ethan, you're so mean. Why? Why did you have to divorce me? I don't want a divorce. 3 years. Did you know? I got used to it. I got used to having you around. The milk in the morning, the soup at night. You were so good to me. I knew it all. But I was scared to say anything. I was scared. Scared you were just doing it for the money. Scared you didn't like me. I thought after the divorce, I would be free. But I'm not free at all. I miss you. Ethan, I miss you so much. Her words came in broken fragments, her voice growing smaller, laced with tears, like a lost child who had finally confessed her deepest sorrows. I listened in silence, a tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. So she knew. She had felt it all. She wasn't cold. She was just terrified. She had gotten used to me, too. She liked me. The car pulled up outside my apartment building. Ethan, she lifted her head, her drunken eyes looking at me, filled with dependence and hurt. Don't take me back there. I don't want to be alone. Looking at her like this, how could I possibly refuse? Okay, we're not going to your place. We'll go to mine. I helped her out of the car and half-carried, half-guided her into my apartment. I settled her on a sofa and went to get her a glass of water. Here, drink this. I helped her sit up, holding the glass to her lips. She obediently took a few sips, then suddenly threw her arms around my neck, burying her face in my chest. Ethan, don't leave, she mumbled. Her body was soft against mine, her scent a mix of faint alcohol and her own unique fragrance. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I could feel the blood rushing through my veins. I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here, I whispered, gently stroking her back. Do you not like me anymore? She asked, lifting her tear-streaked face to look at me. Is that why you wanted the divorce? No, I never disliked you, I explained quickly. The divorce was because the contract was over, and I thought you didn't like me, that you only cared about your career. I do like you, she suddenly exclaimed, her eyes wide like a startled deer. I like you, Ethan. I've liked you for a long time, from the first time you made me soup for my stomach, from the first time you ran interference for me at a party, from every night you left the light on for me. I started to like you, but I was too afraid to say it. I was scared you were just fulfilling a contract, scared it wasn't real. As she spoke, fresh tears streamed down her face, each one landing like a blow to my heart. You idiot, I whispered, reaching up to wipe her tears away. I like you too. From the first time I saw you asleep at your desk from exhaustion, from the moments I saw you let your guard down, from every single day of these last 3 years. I've liked you. Really? She asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. You're not just saying that. It's real. More real than anything. I smiled, pulling her into a tight hug. I was the idiot. I was so focused on the contract and the money that I ignored my own feelings, and I ignored yours. I'm so sorry, Isabella. Then, can we go back to how things were? She asked for my embrace, her voice small and hopeful. No, I said, pulling back to cup her face in my hands, looking directly into her eyes. Things will be different. Before, we were a contract couple. Now, I want to be your real boyfriend. And one day, I want to be your real husband. Her eyes lit up like the brightest stars in the night sky. The tears came again, but this time they were tears of joy. Okay, kiss me, husband, she nodded emphatically, then leaned in and pressed her lips to mine. Her kiss was tinged with the faint sweetness of champagne, a little clumsy and inexperienced, but filled with a sincerity and love that shook me to my core. I kissed her back, holding her as if I could meld her into my very soul. 3 years of waiting, 3 years of distance, all of it vanished in that single, perfect moment. Chapter 6 that night, Isabella slept at my place. In separate rooms, of course. She was drunk, and I was just looking after her. The next morning, when she woke up in a strange room, she first looked confused, then a memory of the previous night seemed to hit her, and her face instantly turned a deep shade of crimson. I walked in with a breakfast tray and couldn't help but smile at her embarrassed state. You're awake. How's your head? She immediately pulled the covers over her face, her voice muffled. Last night, did I say a lot of crazy things? Nope, not at all, I said, teasing her. Then I held up my phone and played a short video I'd recorded of her tearful confession. You? She peeked out from under the covers, glaring at me, her face now impossibly redder. You recorded that? Yep, every last word, crystal clear, I said, placing the breakfast tray on a nightstand. Sit up and eat something. A little oatmeal will help settle your stomach. She looked at me, her expression a mix of mortification and shyness. She hesitated. You have to delete that video. It's so embarrassing. Nope, not deleting it. I pulled my phone back with a playful grin. I'm going to save these videos forever, I said, leaning in close to her, my smile softening into something serious. I'll use them as blackmail to keep you with me for a lifetime. She looked at me, her eyes slowly filling with tears, and then she nodded fiercely. Okay, a lifetime. In that moment, I knew we had finally, truly found our way to each other. From that day on, everything changed. We were no longer a contract couple, no longer cold and distant. We were a real couple. Isabella completely shed her icy exterior and transformed into a woman who would pout, get jealous, and cling to me. She called me every morning to wake me up, even though I was usually already awake and making her breakfast. She'd come find me after work and collapse into my arms like a little girl complaining about her day. She'd take my hand without thinking, resting her head on my shoulder when we walked through the city. She'd wrap her arms around me from behind while I was cooking and whisper, Ethan, you look so handsome when you cook. And of course, her jealousy didn't just disappear, it intensified. Once, I ran into another old college classmate at the supermarket, and we chatted for 2 minutes by the shampoo aisle. I have no idea how she found out, but when she came over that night, she walked in and gave me the silent treatment. What's wrong? Who upset my girl? I asked with a grin. She just huffed and turned away. You know what you did? I honestly don't, I said, playing dumb. I've been a perfect angel all day, stayed right here home. Don't lie to me, she spun around, pointing a finger at me. Were you not chatting up another one of your old female friends? What were you talking about? Did you get her number? Looking at her, all puffed up with indignation, I couldn't help but laugh. I walked over and pulled her into a hug. All right, you caught me. I ran into a friend from college at the store. We talked for 2 minutes about which shampoo brand is best. That's it. No numbers were exchanged. You can check my phone. Really? She asked, her voice skeptical. I swear on my life. That seemed to satisfy her. She relaxed into my arms, burying her face in my chest. Well, from now on, you're not allowed to talk to other female classmates. If you have questions about anything, you can just ask me. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, I said, laughing as I lovingly tweaked her nose. That night, after Isabella got out of the shower, she cornered me and pushed me onto the bed, a wicked smile playing on her lips. What are you doing? I asked, feigning innocence. She let out a low hum. Tonight, I'm going to devour you. so you won't even think about flirting with other women ever again. 2 hours later, Isabella was lying peacefully beside me, seemingly exhausted. I, however, was still reeling. Wait, did I just get coerced? No, I have to reclaim my dominance here. With that thought, I rolled over, pinning her beneath me. Isabella let out a small shriek of surprise. What do you think you're doing? I just smiled down at her. What do you think? You, be gentle, she whispered, her voice soft and sultry. And so we spent the rest of the night tangled up in each other. For the next few days, it was Isabella who was walking with a slight limp. These sweet, playful moments became our daily routine. I discovered that once an iceberg melts, it reveals a warmth and affection that is overwhelmingly beautiful. Isabella, in turn, became more cheerful and laughed more often. At the office, she was still the formidable Ms. Thorne, but with me, she was just my Bella. Chapter 7. One day, I decided to surprise Isabella at work with a homemade lunch. When I arrived at her office, she was in the middle of reprimanding a few employees who had made a mistake. Watching her, so cool and formidable, I thought about the soft, adorable woman she was with me. The contrast was intoxicating. When she saw me walk in, her expression shifted from stern to surprised. She quickly wrapped up her meeting. All right, that's all. You can go. Once the office door closed and we were alone, her professional mask dissolved. She launched herself into my arms, instantly becoming playful and affectionate. Ethan, I missed you. What are you doing here? Did you miss me too? She asked, looking up at me with hopeful eyes. I reached out and gently pinched her cheek. Yeah, I missed you too. I handed her the insulated lunch bag. You rushed out this morning and forgot this again. Looking at the still warm container, she was visibly touched. You're the best, honey, she cooed, her voice so sweet it could melt steel. I watched her eat, and just as I was about to leave, she stopped me. Honey, I have a surprise for you, she said with a mysterious glint in her eye. I looked at her intrigued. She didn't elaborate, just winked, dashed out of the office, and told me to wait. 10 minutes later, she returned. She had changed into a sharp black pencil skirt, and her long legs were now clad in black, silky stockings. So, what do you think? She purred, her voice dripping with seduction. Then, with one hand, she slowly lifted the hem of her skirt, revealing the long, sleek line of her thigh. My breath caught in my throat. This was pure, unadulterated temptation, and I was powerless to resist. Needless to say, the office saw another kind of heated, high-stakes merger that afternoon. In time, I started my own consulting firm. We supported each other, worked side by side, and both of our companies thrived. Once we were both on stable ground, Isabella and I had a second wedding, a real one this time, a massive celebration to make up for what we'd missed. After the wedding, we traveled the world, spending months in a blissful, adventurous honeymoon phase. Our married life was incredibly happy. The only thing was, ever since that first night, Isabella's appetite for me had become insatiable. It was a near-daily occurrence. Honey, I bought some new lace lingerie. Honey, what do you think of this nurse's uniform? Master, today I am your obedient little maid. My body was starting to feel the strain. The one walking with a limp every morning was now, more often than not, me. This continued until the day Isabella got pregnant. We were in the OBGYN's office, and the doctor was patiently listing all the things we should and shouldn't do during the pregnancy. Excuse me, doctor, I interjected. Does pregnancy affect a couple's physical relationship? Hearing my question, the doctor's tone turned stern. Your wife is pregnant. You shouldn't be thinking about things like that. As a husband, you need to be more considerate. Before she could finish her lecture, I turned to Isabella with a grave expression. You hear that? The doctor's orders. No funny business during the pregnancy. Isabella shot me a playful glare. Fine, you're off the hook. For now. I let out a silent, massive sigh of relief. I knew we had lost 3 years to a contract, to fear and misunderstanding. But in the end, we hadn't lost each other. The road ahead was long, and we would walk it together.